Welcome to Survivor Angels, Lightcast Edition.
There's a kind of tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. It's not physical in the way we usually think about fatigue, and it doesn't always come from doing too much. Sometimes it shows up after being around certain people, or after spending time in a particular place, or even after what seemed like a completely normal interaction, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And what makes it confusing is that nothing obvious happened. The conversation may have been fine. The environment may have looked calm. There may not have been any clear conflict, tension, or reason that you can point to. Head scratcher, right? And yet, you leave feeling different. You feel heavier, quieter, less like yourself, unless you're a very quiet person, but you will still feel quieter. And for a long time, I questioned this. I assumed I needed better boundaries or more energy or a different mindset. And I tried to explain it in ways that made sense quite logically. I'm a knower because if you can explain something, you can control it. But what I began to realize is that this kind of exhaustion isn't always about what you're doing. It's about what you're engaging with and what you're taking on without even realizing it. Recognizing the pattern. If you really think about it, I should say, get my thoughts straightened out here yet, you can probably identify specific people or places that affect you differently. There are people that you can be around for hours and still feel steady, present, fully yourself. And then there are others where even a short interaction leaves you feeling drained and unsettled, maybe even slightly disconnected. The same is true for environments, for rooms, for areas. Some spaces feel open and very easy to be in, while others create a subtle pressure or heaviness that you can't quite explain, but you know it as soon as you walk in. It's there. What's important here is not judging those people or places, but recognizing the pattern. Because the pattern tells you something. It tells you what's actually happening. Now, what I've come to understand is that this kind of depletion is rarely random. It's usually the result of energetic exchange combined with a lack of awareness around it. Being present, you've got to stay present or come back to presence. Every interaction that you have involves more than words. There's an exchange happening beneath the surface at any given time through attention, through emotion, presence, and energy. Some of these exchanges feel quite balanced, and others don't. You see, in balanced interactions, you can give and receive without losing your sense of self. You remain present and engaged, and internally steady. In those unbalanced interactions, though, something different happens. You may find yourself overextending your attention, adjusting your energy to match someone else, holding space without realizing it, or absorbing what isn't being expressed directly. And all of that requires energy. You see, there's very subtle ways that you give your energy away. One of the things that surprised me when I started paying attention to this is how often energy is given away without intention. It doesn't always look like effort. It can look like listening and being present, trying to understand, or even just staying in an interaction that doesn't feel fully aligned. You may not notice it in the moment, but your system is working. It's processing more than what's being said. It's adjusting and responding and sometimes compensating for what's not being expressed directly. And over time, that creates a kind of quiet depletion, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're engaging in ways that aren't fully balanced. It's a personal recognition. I remember starting to notice this in conversations where I would leave feeling absolutely exhausted, even though nothing about the interaction seemed difficult on the surface. But boy, I was wiped out. And it wasn't until I slowed down and really reflected that I realized what was happening. I wasn't just listening, I was holding the entire interaction. I was tracking tone, filling in gaps, stabilizing the energy, and staying present in a way that required more from me than I realized. And because it wasn't visible, I didn't account for it. But this old shell here, this body of mine, sure did. My energy did too. And that's what I was feeling afterward. See, there's a role of environments here in our lives. This doesn't only apply with people. Places carry energy as well. Every space holds a kind of imprint of what has happened there, how it's used, and the general state of the people who occupy it. Some spaces feel light and open and supportive. And then there's those others that feel dense and unsettled or heavy. And just like with people, your system responds to that immediately. You may walk into a place, feel fine, or you may walk in and feel an immediate shift. Your body tightens slightly, your energy pulls back, or you feel less open than you did before. That's not your imagination. That's your awareness responding to the environment. So where do angels become part of this experience? Because you know they do. There's a layer to this that becomes more noticeable, you see, the more aware you become. There are moments when you're in an interaction or an environment that feels draining, and something in you begins to separate from it, not by leaving, but by becoming more aware. You may notice that instead of being fully immersed in the heaviness, there's a part of you that is steady and observing and not affected in the same way. Now, in my experience, this is one of the ways angelic presence becomes tangible, not by removing you from the situation, but by helping you remain clear within it. It's a kind of support that doesn't interfere, but it strengthens your ability to stay connected to yourself. And when that happens, the experience changes. You're still very much aware of what's around you, but you're no longer taking it on in the same way. So why don't you always notice it right away? Well, one of the reasons this can be hard to recognize is because the depletion doesn't always happen immediately. You might feel fine during the interaction and only notice the shift afterward. That's because your attention is focused outward in the moment. You're engaged, and you're present, and you're interacting. And it's not until you step away that your system has space to register what just happened. That's when you feel the drop in energy and the heaviness, or the need to withdraw and even recalibrate. Because there's a difference between engagement and overextension. There's a difference between being present with someone and overextending your energy. Presence feels very steady. It doesn't require you to lose yourself in the interaction. Overextension, on the other hand, feels like you're leaning too far in, giving more than you're receiving, adjusting more than you need to, or staying engaged longer than feels natural. The challenge is that overextension can feel normal. You've been doing it for a long time. So the first step is just very simply recognizing it. You need a guided awareness moment. So I want you to think for a moment about a person or place that consistently leaves you feeling drained every time you're together. Not in a dramatic way, though, just consistently. Now bring that to mind, and instead of analyzing it, notice what happens in your body as you think about it. Is there a slight tightening? Do you lean in? A pulling back? A sense of heaviness or resistance? Now notice something else. Is there also a part of you that is simply aware of that feeling without being overwhelmed by it? That awareness, that steady observing part of you, is what allows you to stay connected to yourself. And that's the space where clarity begins. Things change when you recognize this. When you start to recognize what's happening, the experience doesn't necessarily disappear, but your relationship to it changes. You begin to notice earlier and you adjust more naturally. And also then you recover more quickly. It's a natural progression. And most importantly, you stop assuming that the exhaustion is something that you need to fix inside, internally. Sometimes it's simply something that you've been interacting with. You can work with it practically. Yes, you can. This doesn't mean avoiding people or places. It means becoming more aware within the the circumstances, the places, and the situations with the people. You can check in with yourself during the interactions. Notice when you start to overextend. Allow yourself to step back slightly, even while staying present. And you can also give yourself time to reset afterward without judgment. Because recalibrating is part of maintaining alignment. There's a deeper truth about energy. Your energy is not unlimited in the way people often assume. It's responsive. It moves based on where your attention goes, what you engage with, and how you interact with what's around you. So when you feel drained, it's not a failure. It's simply feedback. It's your system showing you where your energy has been going and how it's been used. You don't need to become less aware in order to feel better. That isn't necessary. You don't need to shut down your sensitivity or avoid the world around you. Oh, please don't do that. What changes everything here is learning how to stay connected to yourself while still being aware of everything else. Because when you can do that, you don't lose energy in the same way. You stay steady, you stay clear, and you stay aligned. So pay attention to what leaves you feeling like yourself and what slowly pulls you away from that. Because in that awareness, you begin to understand not just what you're experiencing, but how to remain fully present within it with support that is often closer than you realize. So activate your angels.